Welcome back to the crypto world. My name is Josh, and right now Ethereum is finding strong support in these regions just here. In a moment, I'll be getting into my next Ethereum price targets and my Ethereum strategy right now. I'll also be comparing where we are in this bull cycle to where we were in the 2017 bull cycle to see what could come next. And I'll also be taking another look at the Bitcoin dominance chart because this is actually really important for all altcoin holders out there. So definitely make sure you're watching this video all the way to the end so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, if you could just leave a like on the video down below, and if you could subscribe to the channel if you are new, honestly, that means a lot to me and it helps out the channel so much. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Ethereum to US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame. And first of all, I'm just going to say that I've been reading all of your suggestions for other altcoins, and a lot of you have been especially requesting Solana and Cardano back on the channel. So I'll just let you guys know that during a time period like this, where we're looking actually quite bearish in the short term, and when Bitcoin is dumping to the downside, a lot of the altcoins are actually looking bearish as well, just simply because the market sentiment all round across the entire crypto market plunges into fear, and there's a lot of panic sellers and things like that that will actually drag down the price of most altcoins out there. Once again, when we're seeing this sort of price action in Bitcoin and Ethereum in particular. But yeah, anyway, jumping into the Ethereum chart now, as you can see here, we obviously had that crash yesterday right down to this low at around 3,000 US dollars. I covered that in yesterday's video. We also got a huge, massive spike in volume just here as we were dumping to the downside, and that is actually a sign of at least a temporary bottom. So I would expect just in the short term here, just a sideways consolidation. Now, obviously, this sideways consolidation is not going to be a straight line sideways. It's going to be more of a price range where we're ranging up and down for a little while, probably a couple days. Obviously, it's very hard to put an exact time frame on that sort of thing, but that's just generally speaking what normally happens. We have a selling climax, and then we have an automatic reaction to the upside, and then what happens is we actually come back down and form another low, whether that's a lower low or a higher low. Obviously, that's yet to be seen. We could argue that this was another low just here, and in that case, obviously, that is a higher low. But in my opinion, at least from my experience in the markets, we still have a little bit of bearish price action ahead of us. Honestly, I do not expect an immediate recovery out of this crash anytime soon. Talking about, the next few days or so, I do not expect a recovery. If you're talking about maybe over the next few weeks, maybe in a month from now, then yes, it's totally possible that we can completely recover out of this crash just here, but just don't have unrealistic expectations for a recovery out of this correction. Now, no matter what happens, whether we're looking bullish or bearish in the short term, whether we break into a higher low or a lower low, we need to be holding above this moving average just here. This is the 50-day exponential moving average. And zooming out to the daily time frame, as you can see here, this moving average is actually really quite significant for Ethereum. Looking all the way back towards around October, November last year, when the bull run really started to kick off, the Ethereum price was actually bouncing along the 50-day exponential moving average quite a few different times. And then obviously we began to explode it to the upside leading into the very beginning of this year. And then that first major correction to the downside, we pretty much bounced right off the 50-day EMA. We actually dipped a little bit below it, but once again, you could pretty much call that a nice bounce along that EMA. And then we came back down and formed another bounce along the 50-day EMA. Once again, we actually dipped slightly below it for around a day. But when you're looking at the big picture, the 50-day EMA actually provided very strong support in that region just there. I'm talking about March 2021. And then we began to break out to the upside here leading into April 2021. And then we actually came back down and retested the 50-day EMA multiple times just here throughout the end of April. And then obviously we exploded to the upside in the middle of May. We actually topped out at the all-time high, came back down. And because of how far the price extended from that moving average, the velocity and the momentum that the price had when we were plunging back to the downside, that was enough momentum to actually break through the 50-day EMA. And the moment that we did that, that moving average then provided major resistance for the Ethereum price. So as you can see here, we broke below the 50-day EMA in around the middle of May. And then the very next day, we actually had one green candle right up towards the 50-day EMA, got a major rejection. And then around a week later, another retest of the 50-day EMA, another rejection. And then close to a week later after that rejection, we saw yet another pretty much perfect rejection along the 50-day EMA. And then we came back down even further, one more rejection along the 50-day EMA. And then we came back down even further towards that low at around 1700. And then we bounced from there and saw yet another rejection along that exact 50-day EMA. So once again, if we break below that level, this provides huge resistance for the Ethereum price, just like how when we're above the level, it actually provides huge support, like what we've seen only just over the last one day. Once again, with this crash to the downside, the 50-day EMA for Ethereum is coming in at roughly around 3.1k, just above 3.1k, and we actually briefly wicked just below the 50-day EMA for just a really small amount of time, and then we came straight back to the upside. So yeah, that is really a strong amount of support that I would be paying attention to for Ethereum at around 3.1k, give or take. And I would be flipping much more bearish on Ethereum if we see a confirmed break below that level. So I'm talking on the daily time frame, because of course it's a daily moving average. We need to see a daily candle close below the moving average to help confirm the break below. And preferably if we can actually come back up and see a retest of the moving average and get a rejection from the moving average. And that once again will be a scenario where I would flip a lot more bearish on Ethereum, at least in the short to midterm, talking about perhaps over the next 1 to 2 months. Because keep in mind, the last time we broke below the 50-day EMA, we were actually bearish for around 2, nearly 3 months before we finally started seeing some major bullish price action. Now on the daily time frame, if you're bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from the all-time high down to these lows at around 1700, as you can see here, obviously we previously broke above the golden pocket, and we even started breaking above the 78.6% Fibonacci level at around 3.8k. But the moments that we lost that level of support, we immediately entered this plunge to the downside straight into the golden pocket. We actually wicked a little bit lower once again, but right now the price of Ethereum is actually sitting in this previous golden pocket for Ethereum, which was actually massive resistance for the Ethereum price throughout pretty much the entire month of August, as you can see. So right now this golden pocket is ranging from around 3.3k to 3.4 thousand US dollars. So if we start breaking back below 3.3k and actually get a daily candle close below that level, then that will be even more bearish for Ethereum, just in the short term at least, because that would also mean that we would be losing a very significant support level here in the short term, because of course this was a very significant resistance level in the past, and anytime we have a significant resistance level and we break above it, that is now meant to turn into new support. And right now it is acting as some short-term support, but once again we really need to hold that level, otherwise it's almost certain that we'll at least dip back down towards the 50-day EMA, coming in at around 3.1k, and that is really one of the last major levels that we need to hold before we enter much more bearish price action for Ethereum. Now one thing to consider is the fact that right now where the current price of Ethereum is at the time of filming this video at least, is only at prices that we were seeing about a week ago. Once again, around a week ago we were at these same prices anyway. It was just because we had a major pump to the upside and a major dump that now the majority of people are afraid. But over the last week, if the price just heads sideways, obviously no one would be panicking. It's just because of what has happened in between the last week that everyone is panicking. So that's a different perspective to have a look on the market at the moment. Now just taking a quick look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart. I let you guys know around 2 to 3 days ago, all the way back up here, that I actually moved some of my Ethereum holdings into Bitcoin, around 5 to 10% of my Ethereum holdings into Bitcoin. Once again, I publicly announced that on the channel and on my Twitter in real time around 2 to 3 days ago. And so far that has been a profitable move, as you can see, because of course this chart for the beginners out there shows Ethereum versus Bitcoin, which means that right now in the short term, Ethereum has been underperforming against Bitcoin. So you would actually be doing better during this time period just here if you were holding Bitcoin rather than Ethereum, because once again, Ethereum is losing its value at a faster pace than Bitcoin at the moment. And that is actually pretty normal during these sort of times. During any sort of time of panic or any sort of bearish time in the market, Bitcoin is one of the top cryptos that actually holds up the best, even in like a major bear market. In previous bear markets for Bitcoin, talking about, 2014, 2018, during those bear markets, Bitcoin actually lost around 80 to 85% of its value. But once again, that is in a worst case scenario. But altcoins, on the other hand, even Ethereum actually lost around 95% of its value during the 2018 bear market. And much smaller altcoins out there actually lost even above 99% of their value. But once again, those are the most extreme scenarios. But right now, considering the fact that we are leaning a little bit more bearish, obviously, it is perfectly normal for altcoins to be underperforming against Bitcoin. And this is the price that the altcoins pay for actually outperforming Bitcoin during the bullish times. Zooming out to the daily time frame for Ethereum versus Bitcoin, as you can see just here, this entire time period right here was actually the time period between the middle of May and the end of July, where the majority of the crypto market was actually looking bearish. And if you're looking at what Ethereum was doing against Bitcoin, it was underperforming against Bitcoin throughout that entire entire bearish time in the market. And then it was only after Bitcoin started bottoming out and we saw a major move to the upside across all of the crypto markets leading into the beginning of August here, that was when Ethereum began outperforming Bitcoin once again. Now getting into the Bitcoin dominance chart here on the daily time frame, this is really important for all of the altcoin holders out there because the trends in the Bitcoin dominance actually show us whether or not we're in an altcoin season, meaning the altcoins are going to be outperforming Bitcoin, or if we're in a time period where the altcoins are going to be underperforming against Bitcoin, like back here, for example. So for the complete beginners out there, any of the new viewers to this channel, basically the Bitcoin dominance is just Bitcoin's market share across all of the crypto markets. So right now, the Bitcoin dominance is at around 41.5%. So out of all of the money in the crypto market altogether, around 41.5% of it is sitting in Bitcoin and obviously the rest in altcoins. So if this is heading to the downside here, that means Bitcoin is losing market share against the altcoins. So obviously the altcoins will be gaining against Bitcoin. And then when the Bitcoin dominance is gaining to the upside here, that means Bitcoin is stealing that market share back away from the altcoins, and the altcoins will be underperforming against Bitcoin during the Bitcoin dominance's rise. Now, obviously over the last 1 month approximately, we have actually been in a very nice little altcoin season. The majority of altcoins out there, just on average, have been doing very well over the past 1 month until really just now, obviously, because we actually met the price target for this rising wedge pattern. Well, we came very close to the price target. The price target was coming in at around 40%, and we actually hit a bottom of around 40.7%. So once again, pretty close to the technical price target. Now, this can keep heading further to the downside. Obviously, this hasn't really confirmed a major bottom just yet, but I'm just letting you guys know that if this does confirm a major bottom, that would not be too good for the altcoins out there. And now zooming all the way out to the weekly charts for the Bitcoin dominance, this is really important to pay attention to because as you can see here, obviously throughout this entire time period just here, the altcoins were doing amazing. That's between March and May. And then obviously we hit that bottom in around the middle of May when the majority of the crypto market entered that bearish time period and the Bitcoin dominance rose to the upside again. And right now, if we see a double bottom here and actually form a W pattern, as you can see, this is a potential outcome right now if we do actually see this bounce over the next few days. If this is the case this time round, then we would actually be playing out something very, very similar to the previous market cycle at the end of the bull market. As you can see here, this is 2017. The Bitcoin dominance was crashing to the downside during the middle of the 2017 bull market. So obviously Bitcoin during that entire year was pumping to the upside, but because the Bitcoin dominance was crashing so hard to the downside, that means that altcoins were pumping so much harder than what Bitcoin was gaining. And then we had this very steep drop off leading in towards the top of the bull market of 2017. And then we actually saw this major bounce to the upside. And then we came back down and formed another low, somewhat similar to the first low here, to complete a W pattern. And then the moment that we broke above the middle of the W pattern just here, the neckline of the W pattern, to confirm the breakout to the upside in the Bitcoin dominance, that basically signaled the end of the bull cycle and the beginning of the next bear market in crypto. And obviously, once again, during that time period just there throughout 2018 and really 2019 as well, the altcoins were not doing too good. They were actually losing a lot of value. And so I'm just letting you guys know that right now we are in a very similar setup to where we were just back here. We are in a potential W pattern forming. Once again, we have not confirmed this bottom just yet. We really need to see a few more daily candle closes to the upside, but I'm just letting you guys know about this well in advance, just in case we do see a W pattern play out here in the Bitcoin dominance. That could potentially signal a bear market beginning in crypto. And now on a more positive note, looking at something that's much more bullish right now, of course, the funding rates on all of these exchanges right now are actually neutral, if not negative, which is absolutely great to see. We've finally seen the massive shakeout in the market that we were waiting for quite a few weeks now. Obviously, the subscribers that have been watching my videos over the last few weeks would know that I've been actually checking these funding rates quite a lot recently, and they have been overly positive, meaning that they are technically speaking bearish, because if the funding rates are overly positive, that means it's very expensive to maintain a long position. But right now, considering that a lot of these funding rates are now in negative territory, that means that now the short positions have to pay the long positions money to keep the short positions open. So the more negative that these funding rates go, the more expensive it becomes to open a short position and maintain a short position, which is a short-term bullish sign for the crypto market, especially if these go even more negative once again. And taking a look at the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, well, I should say Crypto Fear and Greed Index, because this really gives us a good market sentiment across the entire crypto market. And right now it's sitting in the neutral zone, which is absolutely great to see, because really over the last entire month, month, we were sitting in greed territory. And only just recently, over the past 1 to 2 days, we were actually sitting in extreme greed, which was a very big warning signal for all of us that we were due for some bearish price action pretty soon. And of course, I covered that here on the channel. So of course, we knew some bearish price action was right around the corner. We just didn't know exactly the format that it would arrive in. For example, that crash that we just got. Now, obviously, we're in neutral, so this is great to see. This is an improvement from the extreme greed that we were just seeing yesterday, but there is still room to the downside. We can still enter into the fear zone, so keep that in mind as well. The prices of cryptos can head further to the downside, and if that's the case, that will obviously push this indicator further into the fear and towards extreme fear. And if we finally see some more extreme fear in the markets, that is when I'm going to be accumulating the most. When the majority out there are flipping extremely bearish, once again, that makes me bullish. But right now, we are sitting in kind of an in-between phase of the market, going from bullish to potentially bearish at the moment. And by the way, if you want to get extra crypto updates in real time throughout the day, definitely check out my Twitter. The link to my Twitter is in the description down below. As you can see, I covered Cardano recently on the Twitter around a day ago, saying that yes, Cardano actually hit the technical price target out of this rising wedge pattern that I was warning you guys about over the last 2 to 3 days. So once again, if you want all of these extra updates, definitely check out my Twitter. The link to my Twitter is in the description down below. But anyway, that's really everything I have to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the video or got something valuable from it, make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so that you're not missing out on any of these future videos. And as always, I post these updates every single day here on YouTube, and also those extra real-time updates over on my Twitter. And considering the opportunity that we are about to enter in the overall crypto markets with these discounted prices that we are currently seeing, there's never been a better time to stay active in these markets. And there's also never been a better time to share these videos around with your friends, to get your friends involved in this amazing opportunity that we are just seeing right now. But anyway, that's really everything I have to say for this video. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.